Again. Good morning. My name is Ryan Miller. I'm the founder of Parent Dome, which I broadcast on multiple channels. I broadcast on Periscope, on YouTube, and in addition to New Media TV, which is a downloadable app. I do private broadcasts in there as well, and I broadcast live on Facebook. And I wanted to come here today specifically. This video is being recorded. It's going to go up on YouTube, and I wanted to share it with those people that are in the business or exploring the business of proximity marketing. So the hat I'm wearing now to cover the new growth of post-chemotherapy hair, but the hat that I'm wearing right now is in conjunction with Growth Hackers Cafe. And Growth Hackers Cafe is a boutique organization which is really poised to help businesses take advantage of technology, tools, process to help drive end users' net profitability. We talk about how to reach new clients, how to activate those clients, and how to re-energize passive clients. That's kind of the philosophy, and it's to help small businesses increase their net profit. So one of the powerful tools that we were exploring and examining and testing was this new, what's being referenced as a new technology, which is proximity marketing. And it's the ability to take a device, small device, these operate on batteries, and that these send out a Bluetooth signal. Proximity marketing refers to taking advantage of a Bluetooth signal, sending that signal out with the aspirations and hopes that it would be received on people's smartphone devices, that they could interact with that message. So the title of the broadcast is Proximity Marketing, Facts versus Fiction. So what you see beside me is an image of various beacons that are being introduced to the market. And this is really a physical product which is programmable. You can communicate with this device via an interface, a dashboard, that you can program a 40-character message. That 40-character message can also include a hyperlink, and that hyperlink is the ability for a call to action. So there are many people and many processes in which you can acquire these beacons. You can source the technology directly from Alibaba, and you can buy the hardware. You can use a software development kit, and you can develop your own dashboard interface on how to program these. But the objective is to program them with whatever messaging with the hopes of being able to reach a smartphone device. Now, I want to go through some of the limitations of this technology. First, let me give you some of the salesmanship that is happening out there. There's a lot of creative language that is being used by people that are representing themselves as independent salespeople of a business opportunity to take advantage of Bluetooth marketing, proximity marketing. And they use some pretty colorful language. They say that this device will send a Bluetooth message anywhere from, some people say 100 feet, some people say 100 yards, some people say 100 meters, some people say 400 feet. Some people say 400 yards. Some people say 400 meters. There's somebody that's out there now that is speaking that this will go 1,000 meters. So this is creative language that's being used because the Bluetooth signal itself has limitations. Limitations based upon the battery source, how much energy that you have. So you have little button batteries that are kind of like watch batteries. You have some that are powered by AA batteries, some that have a physical power whip that you can plug it into a wall outlet, some that can have a car adapter that you can plug it into I don't even know if cars have these anymore, but the cigarette lighter power adapter in a car, that you can get more energy to the beacons, but the beacon technology itself has limitations as to the signal strength and how far it will go. That's a limitation of the chipset, in addition to some requirements depending upon where you are in the world. In the United States, we have a regulatory body called the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, which has restrictions and limits as to the energy level of a signal, the energy level of a signal, the bandwidth in which that signal will communicate, and the distances which it will travel. That's all regulated by the FCC. When you look at the technology, yes, Sam, that's part of the problem. That people are believing the words in which people are saying, but nobody's actually testing it. And I actually saw a video of somebody creatively testing it, and they were hiding the visibility of the results of the test. It was horrible. It's creative salesmanship. And I have tested the signal. I have tested the signal on various devices, and I know what I would say in a sales representation. But that's me. That's me because I've tested it. I don't take anything at face value. I don't buy the salesmanship. I live in a world which is trust based upon verification. Trust but verify. So when people are saying 100 feet or 100 meters, that's a big difference in distance. When do they say 400 feet or 400 meters? That's a big difference. 1,000 feet or 1,000 meters, that's a big difference in distance. But they don't tell you about the limitations on what interrupts or delays that signal. So you have to have a clear line of sight. How long do you have to remain in that radius in order for that signal to reach a device? And there's creative words that are being used through marketing, which people are willing to, yeah, right, this isn't hit the Consumer Reports. This is all creative marketing, and I feel very sad. That's why I say caveat emptor. People need to be aware and test before they buy into some creative salesmanship. So I want to clarify some terms that are being used in the proximity marketing space. They use the word impression. An impression, let me give you an example of an impression. You're driving down the highway, and as you're driving down the highway, you see the road signs for the speed limit, the exit signs, and then every once in a while you'll see a billboard pop up. An impression is when you drive by that billboard, your eyes go to that billboard and you're able to see that billboard. You cannot interact with it, and the marketing companies say, I'm going to place a billboard on a highway that has over 500,000 cars travel on it per day, and that you could expect 500,000 impressions. You will have 500,000 sets of eyes be able to see that billboard. That's assuming that every driver driving is going to see that billboard. Many people will be distracted listening to the radio, changing channels, looking at a car that's pulling in front of them, and interacting with their phone, so that they're not going to be an impression, but that they're saying that based upon this amount of travel, you're going to get this amount of impressions. In the proximity marketing world, an impression is this signal being transmitted has the ability to connect with the device, that the signal goes to the device, and the device receives that signal. That's all it is. There's a connection between the Bluetooth signal and the receiving device being a phone. A connection of that signal. That's counted as an impression. The next word is referred to as a view. When that signal reaches this device, what is the possibility of somebody being able to see or view that message? The representation is that an impression equates to a view. Unfortunately, in order for a view to occur, you need to be within the proximity of this device for a period of time. You have to stay in that proximity for a period of time. Then you also have to be active on your phone at that moment. You don't have a physical notification. You don't have a beep. You don't have a buzz. You don't have a vibrate. You have no indication that signal has connected. You have to be active on your phone. In addition to, you have to have certain settings enabled on your phone. You have to have your Bluetooth enabled. You need to have the Chrome browser loaded on your device. You need to have your location settings on. And in your settings, you need to have activated Google Nearby. So there are 4 elements that your phone must be configured to allow the ability for you to view a signal. Now, many people may have their Bluetooth enabled. Maybe they have their Google Chrome browser downloaded on their device. Maybe they have their location settings on. Maybe all of those things have been done. They've set their Google Nearby on as well. But then you're also relying upon them to be active on their phone while they're near that beacon to get that view. Then you have to rely upon, if they're viewing it, that they see that message. So they have to actively scroll on their phone to go to the nearby notifications to see that message. Then that's the view has the ability to be viewed, but do they actually see it? That's the next hurdle. Yeah, this is, Sam, I will answer those questions. What's the cost? Who is marketing? Who manufactures? And this is in the caveat emptor domain that nobody asks those questions. So these are very valid questions, but I want to go a little bit deeper. So we went through the impression, we went through the view, now we have to see it. So now we have to be near that beacon. We have to have all of those settings configured. We have to be active on our phone. We have to take an active step to look for those notifications. Then we have to rely upon a 40-character message that message is of interest to me. I will get to that in a second, and that's a bot. I will get to that in a moment. So then that 40-character message has to be of interest to me that I would take action and click it. And what happens after that click? That is very true. Many people do have Bluetooth enabled because they're using Bluetooth devices such as hands-free headsets, and they're connecting it to their car, or they're using it for functionality in their home. So, and in the past, there was a concern by keeping Bluetooth enabled that it would more rapidly degrade the life of my battery. That is no longer the case. That was an issue some time ago, but that is no longer the case. The impact of having your Bluetooth enabled at this point is insignificant. So that is correct. So they do have the Bluetooth. They may not have Google Nearby on. They may not have downloaded the Chrome browser, and they may not have their location settings on. But if you've got the trifecta or the quadfecta of all those things, you have improved the possibility of a message being viewed on a screen, but you have to actively go seek that message. So we got the impression, the view, the see, then we got to get into the engagement as to the 40 characters being of any benefit for somebody to click on it, and then what happens after the click. In the proximity marketing space, all they're talking about is the ability for you to place one of these devices, and you are going to get incredible brand visibility. And they say things, hey, Steve, that you are able to reach everybody's cell phone. That's the messaging. All of these manufacturers that are using various sales channels, they're representing statements about how far the signal will go, and they're saying it's going to reach everybody's device. That is not true. The technology works only when you have an app installed on Google, which is the Google Nearby app is by default loaded on all Android devices. That's a function that Android devices, Google Nearby is already installed on the software when you get the device. You have to activate it or deactivate it. iOS devices does not have Google Nearby natively loaded onto the device. So you will not receive a Google Nearby message, or you have no ability to receive a Google Nearby message because you have to download another app. I'm not sure what you mean about kids using devices. Oh, another bot. Bear with me a second. I am going to be I'm broadcasting this live on Periscope. The video is going to be loaded to YouTube. One of the things that's occurring in my broadcast right now on Periscope is that I have bots that are coming into the broadcast, and they're repeating people's questions. So the way I manage my broadcast, I remove bots from following my particular account. A bot is an automated process, and I don't need bots in broadcasts. So the salesmanship that is happening around these devices is a gross misrepresentation of the real power of the technology. It's overinflated because these devices don't automatically receive the signal. You have to go looking for it, and people are saying it automatically pops up on your phone. It has significant distance limitations, as the signal will not go through construction materials. So if you're in a building, it will only be inside the building. It's not going to go outside the building. If you're outside the building, the signal's not going to reach inside of the building. You need a clear, unobstructed line of sight. So if you're walking around with one in your pocket, another obstruction is people. So if you're standing in a crowd of people and you're immersed in a mosh pit, you're only going to hit the circumference of the mosh pit closest to you. All those other people, the signal is not going to reach. These are limitations of Bluetooth technology, which nobody really talks about. That it won't go through a car, it won't go through a truck. You need to stay within proximity of that beacon for a certain period of time, or else you lose that signal. The message doesn't maintain on your phone when you leave the proximity of the beacon. It disappears. And this is why I'm calling out fact versus fiction, because people are out there selling these beacons and promoting these beacons to overinflate the potential of people seeing a message. If you're in rush hour traffic and kids have phones, iPads, could they connect? If you're traveling on vacation and you're in a car and you're moving, the ability to see a beacon is very, very remote, very limited, because you need to be next to a beacon for a period of time. So a better example would be, I could take a beacon and I could put it inside of a restaurant. And all of those people are going to sit down for dinner, and they're going to be in the restaurant from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and they're going to eat their meal. You may, if you have Bluetooth enabled, your location settings on, the Google Chrome browser installed, and your Google Nearby activated, you might receive that signal. But you would also have to go look for that signal. You would have to be on your phone. You would have to scroll to your Nearby notifications, and you'd have to look. Did I receive a message via Google Nearby? You have to go look for it. So there's a tremendous amount of training for phone users to be even aware that you might be missing Bluetooth messaging offers. Now, how do you train people to put all of those things on their phone and to know that you might be able to receive an offer? Well, that could take some time. The other thing is, all of these beacons that are being sold none of them are, well, I shouldn't say none of them. Very few of them own the intellectual property of developing the chipset for Bluetooth beacons. People like Amcor and Texas Instruments and others own the intellectual property that actually developed the chipset, and other people either license that technology and they put their own packaging around it, or they're just using somebody else's technology under a white label agreement. These words may not mean much to people, but it's an important aspect to understand that they're relying upon someone else's intellectual property, the beacon chip, the Bluetooth chip. The other thing, which is nobody thinks about, is that the function of these is not a business unto itself. You are piggybacking on Google and Apple. You're using the Google Nearby platform, and or you're using Apple's iBeacon platform. In order for Apple to work, you have to have an app specifically loaded on your phone like Google Nearby. You have to have another app specifically designed to receive iBeacon messaging inside of an app. In those instances, when you have that app, what the beacons are passive I hate doing air quotes, but they're called passive messaging. It's a passive message. It's not a vibrate. It's not a tone generating message. They're all passive, and you have to go seek to find that message. When you're on iBeacon within an app, it can be an active notification. It can be a tone generating message. It can be a vibration signal that you receive this active message, just like you do in Facebook Messenger or you do in an active text. A push notification is an active message. All beacons outside of an app cannot do an active message. That's an FCC requirement. In addition to, it's a Google requirement and an Apple requirement. Apple requires it through an app. All Bluetooth beacons are relying upon playing nicely with Google and playing nicely with Apple. Google just recently changed some of their requirements for nearby notifications. So let me just give you a couple of examples. This is not necessarily for my Periscope audience, but for those people that are exploring proximity marketing, and I want to navigate the disinformation and the misinformation, because there's a tremendous amount of it out of there, and there's a lot of people that are getting upset. They're spending money based upon this misinformation, and their feelings are hurt, and they're damaging relationships. Their integrity is in question because they're doing things which are not true, and they can't defend it, and they're all of a sudden saying, "Oh, I spent $300 and now I've ticked off my friends because I lied." Well, you didn't lie. What you did is you didn't do enough research, and you're believing what people are telling you without challenging it, not testing it. And because you wanted to believe the hype, you didn't dive in to say, is this really happening? Does this really happen this way? And unfortunately, because in this world of buyer beware, caveat emptor, you are using your own words. These marketing companies are telling you what to say very craftily, but you're taking liberties by connecting dots that aren't there, and you're putting yourself in a bad spot. So I forgot where I was going. Shoot. I was talking about impressions and the ability to receive this message. Oh, I'm talking about the beacon manufacturers. The beacon manufacturers are putting this in a sales presentation that each of them do it in a different way. And what they're doing is their sales process needs to be examined and explored. So I'm not calling out any particular beacon manufacturer because they're all doing the same kind of thing. Very few of them are saying, here, you can buy my beacon and you can program it, and here's the SDK that you can gain access to the beacon and use this technology as it suits your application. So this particular manufacturer tells me you have the ability to deliver that Bluetooth signal to phones. You already know what the limitations are. You can use it any way you see fit. If you want to use it for messaging, absolutely you can. Understand the limitations. You want to use it for asset tracking, you can use it for asset tracking. You want to use it for other UID type of monitoring, you can do that as well. It will work on both devices, but you need to understand how it works on both devices, which I learned how it works on both devices, Android and Apple. And I don't need to rent this. I bought it, I configure it, and I use it as I see fit. Other manufacturers, they wrap it into creative salesmanship where you are renting this and you're paying access to the tools to be able to program it, but the programming is incredibly limited. And in addition, it has a lot of functional, operational limitations and or problems associated with it, which you don't know until you buy it and you start testing it and you figure out, oh my gosh, this isn't what I thought it was. In order to do that, you got to test it, you got to see it. And once you get your hands on the device and you tell people that you can do this with it, you're going to find out that what you told them doesn't line up with what it can do. So I've been trying to provide value to people that I've used these devices. I've experimented with several different manufacturers and several different sales strategies, and I've tested these devices. And without fail, they all suffer the same limitations. Some of them have better marketing resources behind them. Some of them have very low-level, user-friendly dashboards to manage and configure. Some of them are extremely gifted in the marketing aspect on how to sell more beacons, and they provide the tools and resources and videos and training on how to sell more beacons, but none of them are skilled in how to make a beacon perform. They're selling impressions. They're not talking about attachment. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a value for selling more beacons, because absolutely you can make a boatload of money by having people pay a monthly fee to rent a beacon from any organization. And honestly, that is a business model that has worked, but it doesn't have long-term success. It does work. It makes some people a lot of money, but here's why it doesn't achieve long-term success. Because on the consumer side, the client side, they want value for their investment. They want value. What is value to the client is not what you tell them value is, it's what they perceive value to be. So as I said, as Growth Hackers Cafe, our value that we provide to our clients is about how to reach new clients, how to activate those clients, and how to re-energize passive clients to drive net profit. That's what our whole suite of training and teaching and courses is, all to help businesses maximize their net profit and reduce their fixed and variable expenses. This is MBA kind of language, and I apologize for that, but this is formulaic. Businesses grow and succeed when you increase their net profit and you decrease their fixed and variable expenses. So this is a fixed expense. You are going to pay for this, for the ability to send a message out to people that hopefully will go and look to find your message. Our experimentation was our clients didn't find that of value. Even in building a brand, it had less value than a billboard, because at least driving down the highway, I can see the billboard. It's right in front of my face. It's on the highway. For this billboard to work, I need to go look for the billboard. I have to be in a location. Something's got to draw my attention that I need to get on my phone, and I got to go look for this message. And our clients didn't find that as valuable. However, we were able to demonstrate a process that this was of low value, because I don't want people looking for a message, but I could use it as a supplemental tool to achieve an active engagement with new clients, to gain visibility with new clients, to gain attachment with those clients, to build a relationship based upon know, like, and trust with those clients, that I could offer them a complete solution where this is of zero consequence to them, because I'm able to demonstrate a complete process other than the hope of somebody looking and finding and seeing this message. Now that takes some training to teach people how to do that, and we realized that when we used this in our experimentation and testing, because when we got into somebody viewing a message and they were able to click, what happens in that click? So what we were able to accomplish was what we refer to as true proximity marketing, geofence type of marketing, that I can expand and or collapse the geofence, the GPS location of a message. That there are certain software and social media applications that are already built in relationship to people, that things that are already downloaded on their phone. I don't need to ask them to download something that's already downloaded on their phone. I don't need to remind them that social media is powerful. I don't need to tell them. I just ask simple questions. Ask simple questions. Or you just look at their device. Is Instagram on their phone? You bet it is. Is Snapchat on their phone? Well, it is for millennials. Is Facebook on their phone? Well, pretty much almost. There's 2 billion people with Facebook on their phone. 2.5 billion people with Facebook on their phone. Twitter. Is Twitter on their phone? Twitter's on their phone. Is LinkedIn on their phone? LinkedIn's on their phone. I don't need to ask them. All of them or one of them. And once I have an answer as to what those are, I have the ability to communicate across all platforms. And instead of hoping that they receive a message through my geofence strategy, I'm able to send them an active message, a push notification. So what we're doing is that I've taken this technology and I recognize it for what it is. I recognize it for what it is. It is the potential for somebody to see a message. However, I use it as a demonstration tool. I use it to demonstrate our process. And whether I leave this behind or not, when I demonstrate our sales process to our clients and they walk through it, then I ask them some questions afterwards. I ask them, because let me say this in advance, that prior to me walking into any customer and having a conversation with any customer, I do some pre-work in advance. I create a sample process. The sample process for me, because now I've got it down to a science, doesn't take very long for me to create a sample process. I know a little bit about the business. If it's a restaurant, if it's a dry cleaner, if it's a pizza shop, if it's a massage parlor, if it's a chiropractor, or if it's a dentist, I know what their value propositions are. And I put a little offer together and I expire the offer just in the event that somebody comes in within proximity to me and they see this offer. They're like, where did that offer come from? And that's happened. That has happened. But I expired the offer because I don't have permission of my potential customer to run that offer yet. So I expire it. So what I do is I use this as a demonstration tool. And I go in and I say, what I'd like to do is I'd like to leave this at your location for a couple of days. And I'd like to gather some market intelligence. And they're like, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm honestly, I wasn't prepared to explain in detail what I'm doing. I didn't have an appointment. What I want to do is this little device does something, and I just want to leave it here for a couple of days, and I just want to test it, and I'll come back in a couple of days, and I'll retrieve it. And they're like, well, what kind of information are you trying to gather? And I said, well, I mean, if you've got 5 minutes, I wasn't prepared to do this, but if you'd like, I can demonstrate for you what will happen. I'm like, yeah, show me. So I said, well, this little device is sending a signal to my phone. Right now, my phone is set up to receive that signal. Not everybody's phone's set up to do this, but I'm just going to give you an example. And I go through and I show. So this is the message that little thing sends to my phone. If you're on an Android and you have a couple of things set up on your phone, you probably have that message, or somebody in here who's got their Android already set up, they're going to see this message. So here's the message, and I give them my phone. They read it, and they're like, wow. And I don't tell them to do anything. They just click on it because there's a little bit of an instruction, click here. And they click on it. Then all of a sudden, they're in my process. I'm building a relationship of know, like, and trust, because once they made that click, something happens, and I take them through my sales process. And it's funny, it's very human feeling, it's interactive, and it's enjoyable by design. So when they go through the entire sequence, which takes maybe 1.5 minutes to 3 minutes, depending upon how long I built that process out for them, I asked them a couple of follow-up questions. I said, listen, I wasn't planning on demonstrating this for you, but you did it. Is it okay if I leave this device? And they're like, yeah, yes, you can leave the device. It's not doing anything to us. And I said, cool. Can I ask you a couple of questions as to what you did? Because I didn't tell you to click on that link. And you got involved and you didn't talk to me for 2.5 minutes. And there's a reason you didn't talk to me for 2.5 minutes, because I walked you through something. Was that intrusive to you? Did you feel like it was intrusive that message popped up and you went through this process and said, no. Did you feel like you had the ability at any time to stop that conversation? I said, yeah, I felt like I could get out of that. Did you think that the offer that we made there would be something that you would offer to your clients? Were we pretty close on how we put the offer together? And they said, I'm totally cool with that offer. I'm so fine with that offer because we're using Groupon and we're sucking at Groupon because we're giving up 50% of our profit on our offer on Groupon. or we're using Valpak and we've got no attachment on Valpak. And what you just did, you gave me the ability that I could give this offer and I'm making more money. I'm like, that's cool. We kind of hope that would be the case. What I want to do is, if you're okay with the way this is, I'm going to change the expiration date. I'll go back to my office and I'll change the expiration date, and I'm going to let that offer go for 4 or 5 days. And I'm going to do some other things behind the scenes. And what my hope is that I'm going to come back to you in a couple of days after I've collected this data. I'll come and collect my beacon back. We don't need to leave it there. I'll come collect my beacon back, and I will present you with what I was able to accomplish. And she said, well, what are you going to get from this? I said, well, that's a really good question. And I say to the people, I mean, I'm here longer than I wanted to be, and I apologize if I'm taking up too much of your time. Do you want to continue this conversation when I come back? I mean, it's gonna take a minute for me to describe what I'm getting. And they said, no. And I stay there for another couple minutes. And they say, what did you get? And I said, well, before I tell you what I get, it's very important that you understand that I'm doing things through tools and process which everybody has clicked I agree to. And they go, what do you mean? I said, everybody downloads an app, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, ladies, Pinterest. Sam, you're identifying areas where this process works like a charm, but it's the complete process. It's not just this. It's a complete process. This, honestly, is a red herring for me to demonstrate the power of the process. So I say, people download all of these apps on their phones. Oh, I thought I got rid of you. When they download those apps, before they're able to install that app on their phone or do it on their desktop, they have to say, I agree to having read the terms of service. So everybody clicks that button so they can enjoy that app experience. And I ask the customer, is it my job to tell you what you give up when you click I agree? Because honestly, I'm not entering into that contract for you. You have entered into that contract with Facebook, with Twitter, with Instagram, with Pinterest, with LinkedIn. You've clicked I agree. Now, there was a big discussion that happened down in Congress the other day with Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Zuckerberg was hiding behind that contract. Rightfully so. Because 99.99% of people click that impulsively with no idea as to what information they're giving to the application and how others can use that information. So I tell people that it's not my job to tell you how I get what I get and what I get. But I'm willing to tell you that going through my process, I got some very powerful data. And I don't need to go to the depth of all the data that I am able to capture, because people give this information to everyone freely. They give it to them freely. So how I use that data is up to me and my business. And if I can use that data to benefit your business, do you really care? Because everybody that's engaging is clicked I agree. And they go, well, no, that's kind of spooky. I was like, but that's not your problem, and that's not my problem. That's everybody who clicked I agree. That's their problem. So if they clicked I agree, they have understood that it's a normal course of business, that people are going to be using that data, and how that data is being used, they're okay with it. They're okay with it. They may not like it, but the only way they can be upset with it is if they remove themselves from Facebook, from Twitter, from Instagram, from all of these applications. If they're really that upset, they'll get out of the platform. And that's fine. That's totally fine. That's not our target audience. Our target audiences are those people that are freely providing data that we want to reach to. And there's multiple ways to do that. So I say in this conversation, and I'm not going as deep as I would with the client, I say I captured some powerful information. I've captured a verified email address. that I can email notify them. I also got their phone number, and I know what kind of device that they're on. I know that they're an Android device or an iOS device. I know they're an iOS 7 or an iOS 8, iPhone 8, iPhone 7, 4 Plus, whether they're on a Galaxy Note or a Galaxy Edge. All of that information is data. And in addition to this process, I had the ability to ping those people with an active notification, a phone vibrating, tone generating, active message. I can't do that here. I can't, it's illegal. Google and Apple stop it. But because of the process in which we deploy, these people have opted in to allow that to happen. They have opted in just based upon going through the process that they have allowed that permission to happen. Now, from Growth Hackers Cafe standpoint, we're here to drive net value, net profit by reaching new clients, activating, energizing those clients, and remotivating and energizing these passive clients. We don't want to do anything that would be perceived by a client as spam, because they will always be presented with an option. Option, is this of interest to you? No. Click, it goes away. Is this value of interest to you? Yes. Super. We have this special bundle that we can put together for you. You buy 5 Coronas today, we're going to give you a free appetizer. Do you want that? Yes. Here you go. So you're sitting down at the restaurant and I got the 5 Corona for the appetizer benefit. No kidding. Oh, you know what? Today's is Martini Mondays. And if you buy a martini, you get an additional off on $1 off on buying a martini. Whoa, that's cool. And that message shows up when you're in the restaurant. Or if you're driving around this proximity and you pierce into that proximity, that you get this notification because you've opted in. You wanted to see information about this particular business. What is your special for today? What is your free offer for today? What is the bonus loyalty program that I have for today? All by choice, tied to process. In the proximity marketing world with these beacons has nothing to do with driving client value. It's not about focusing on the net profit objectives of a company and minimizing their fixed and variable expenses. It's all about selling beacons. And as I said before, I am not opposed to that strategy. It makes a few people very rich. You have to put your head on your own pillow as to what your real value is that you're offering to people. That's up to you. I make no value judgment as to what you say, whether it be truthful or not. I have to lead my life based upon my own integrity and moral and ethical compass, based upon the people that I engage, that I believe in long-term sustainable relationships. I'm not a get-rich-quick kind of person. That my value, it grows with people over time. If you're listening to me on Periscope, you know this to be true based upon how much I've invested educationally with my community on Periscope. I have a long track record of providing substantial value to my target audience specific to internet safety and technology. I've got replays. I have University of Information. I provide free PDF downloads. I provide access to course materials. I've done that repeatedly with my audience. So it's not what I say. It's what my audience says about who I am as a person and where my character, integrity, and morals and ethical compass are. So that is the bent that I'm coming into this broadcast and that I'm going to put up on YouTube, that I do not need to have somebody spend $30 a month with me for a potential, a hope that they're going to see the billboard. That I learned that I did not want to align myself with that sales process, and that I saw this as being a tool. And I gave you an example of how I use that tool. Now, many people are technology fearful, that they're fearful of diving into the details of a device or the details of the software to administer it or the details of Google and Apple as to what they can and cannot do as far as whether this device will work or not. Right now, many of these devices are not working because of a change in Google. Because of a change in Google, these devices are not working. And people are saying, just wait, there's a change coming with Google. Using an app and using tools like Firebase. Just hold on. Just keep paying us the money for this and we'll get it fixed. Hold on. We've got something new and revolutionary that we're going to talk to you about and present that. And all of this salesmanship, which is about selling more of these devices, which I get it. That's their business model. And if people want to embark on that journey based upon that hope, more power to them. I just wanted to say that there is a greater value out to these people that are being pushed. This is much greater than the hope that is being represented. It's a much greater value. So I just wanted to add this postscript that I have been participating in several groups, both public groups and private groups, specific to the proximity marketing domain. And some of these groups, I've been offering comments and observations about the reality of this technology and how to take advantage of enhancing the process to drive real client value. And some of those people in those groups have been direct messaging me and saying, holy smokes, you sound like you know what you're talking about. And I'm getting a lot of misinformation over here, and it doesn't sound, what they're telling me and what it's doing are not the same thing. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to cannibalize this group at all. I want to help those people that have made an investment and they're not seeing the value which they believed they were receiving. And I say, I don't want to disparage the technology or those providers at all, because I understand their business is about selling these. But if you want to sell value to clients, there's another way to look at it. So I have been doing some gentle presentations in some of these groups, public and private. People have been reaching out to me privately through direct messaging. And then I've even had video conversations with people across the world they're like, I don't like this. They didn't tell me, they weren't completely honest and truthful. And I said, I can't defend what somebody else says and your willingness to accept and test what people say. That's between you and them. I did my own testing and I came up with my own solution and strategy. So I'm not going to say anything bad about this. I'm just going to speak truthful about this. So then I went into some groups and I was trying to provide that value. And within the group itself that are all about selling these, removed my visibility from the group. They say, you have to be active in a membership with us in order to stay in this group. I'm like, okay, I don't have an active membership with you. If you want to remove me from the group, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I believe that I was providing value to your community. I wasn't saying anything negative about your technology. I was just giving them an additional tool of hope on how they can provide measurable value to their clients. And if that goes contrary to your objectives, then kick me out. And they did. They kicked me out because they want to promote their value, which is selling beacons, and it's not about the value of how do I drive client value. And these people are very, very good. They're professional. Their back-end materials are very professional. Their marketing, their training is all about how to sell those beacons. There's a big event that lots of people are flocking to a major city to go to this hotel resort, and they're all going to be rah-rah about selling these beacons, which go ahead, sell more beacons. You are relying upon Google to keep that message and that beacon alive. So what if Google says, we don't like what you guys are doing, and they shut off all of your beacons? All of those people are going to cry that their beacons are shut off because Google made a decision. The company didn't make a decision. The company made their money on their beacons. They're making the money on your subscription. And they're like, well, our contract says it's out of our control. Google made this decision. We let you know that these things can happen fact that you didn't read the contract and you clicked I agree, that's that they've protected themselves. And I think that's very smart. When you're relying upon someone else's business to succeed, you better protect yourself if that business makes a decision that doesn't involve you. It's like losing a contract. Don't be upset. Don't be upset up the chain. You clicked I agree. So, and as I said, I'm not disparaging any of these manufacturers. Their business is a tried and true successful business for some. And that's when you're at the top of the food chain, you're doing quite well. When you're at the bottom of the food chain, you're not going to do so well. And the rate of attrition, meaning those people that buy and leave, there's a high turnover. There's an incredibly high turnover of those people that buy, frustrated, leave. But you know, there will always be another person to buy, because there's another person that's not going to go out and do due diligence and going to do the research and going to test, and they're going to buy, and then they're going to leave and not get the refund. And they're like, well, that was sad. And people are hurt. And it's really kind of funny when you look at the dynamics of these type of corporations and how they are very skilled at building teams and using words like rock stars and all about promotion and creating teams and groups. And there's a lot of religious connotation that comes into there. There's a lot of it's a crazy behavior. And many people have done psychological studies and examinations of this kind of marketing strategy. And I've never been a proponent of it. I say, if you have something of value and it's a product and it's a service, the product and service is going to be the value, not the potential of you creating a business around a potential product or service. They missed one portion of the equation, and that is what the clients want. What does the client want? The client wants to increase their net profit, and they want to reduce their expenses so that they can hire more employees. They can expand their business and open another location, and that they want to have more and more employees, that people can have jobs. That's what they want. Net profit, reduce their expense. This is an added expense with no way to measure their profitability. None. Our process that we have developed an enhancement of this, where this just becomes a tool. It just becomes a demonstration vehicle for the process. And whether I keep that tool there or not, that's a decision based upon its performance. If it performs and it happens to be in an area or a population where everybody knows to look for the beacon, that everybody knows to look for it, well, then it's got value. But we have a huge learning curve before people are trained for new behavior on their phone. So maybe that can happen. Maybe you can be part of facilitating that to happen. Our process allows that component to take place, where we can educate our customers in the total value, and that they can be part of a community where they're changing culture and behavior. But that's a very long cycle. Changing human behavior is a very difficult thing, as I have demonstrated with internet safety and security, particularly regarding kids. Parents don't want to change their behavior in relationship with their kids' access to technology. That's uncomfortable, so they don't want to do it. And that the easiest answer for them to say is not my child. They have no evidence that supports it, but it's easy to say my child is not involved in any of this stuff. And it can be a true statement if you don't look at it. The only way for your child to be safe online and for you to validate it is that you don't look at what they're doing online. That's the only way it's a truthful statement. If you do look at it online, then you're going to see some evidence which is opposite of what you believe it should be. It would be like a 14-year-old boy that is off in his bedroom or in the basement playing video games with headphones on, and the parents saying, I've got a good kid, and I know my kid doesn't use profanity, and I know my kid avoids profanity. You want to put a test to that? Unplug the headphones and listen to him play video games for a half hour, and tell me your kid isn't experiencing profanity, and tell me he isn't contributing to the profanity online. But that's what I'm saying is, it's easier to allow the child to game with the headphones on and into the microphone in a different room because you don't need to confront what you want to change or what you could evaluate changing. This is in the same domain. That it's easy to spin a yarn and generate emotion to have people make a decision to sell hope. It's harder to do things which are going to provide verifiable, demonstrable, auditable, trackable data. As I shared before, I've been in these groups and I'm trying to say there is another way to do this. Instead of you being angry that you made a choice impulsively, here's an alternate solution. And that's what I want to provide. So when I post this up to YouTube, I'm going to put some links down below for those people that may have made a decision to use any number of these beacons. And they were given some information that once they made that purchase, it's not doing what they were told it would do. And you want to save those people that you've talked to. You want to save your relationship with those people you've talked to. You have something in you, in your integrity, that you have a moral and ethical compass, that you said something to other people and you're uncomfortable at this point because you know it to not be true. And I'm saying, I have a process that will help you. I will help you. And it's your choice whether you want to go out and provide measurable value or you want to maintain, just continue the get-rich-quick train and not worry about the relationship train wreck that happens behind you. If you want to build a group of people that are get-rich-quick, that's okay. Okay. That there's a place for those kind of people. There's a place for those kind of people. But there's a whole other subset of people where their integrity matters to them, and being truthful is important to them, and providing measurable value is important to them. That this is something that I am willing to help those people. And in the links in the YouTube video, I will share that. So again, this was not a Periscope specific message. I was just using this as a platform to get this messaging out. I'm recording it and it's going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to tag it so people that are in proximity marketing or using any of these vendors and they're saying, I'm not experiencing what they said I would experience, I give them a fallback position. So thank you very much. Thanks for the questions. Everybody have a great day. And if interested, just type a Google search for proximity marketing, on YouTube rather, proximity marketing. Or if you're affiliated with any of those brands that may look familiar to you up on the screen here, there's a couple of them. I didn't put them all up, but if you're involved with those brands and you've made that decision to use that device and it's not working for you, well, you can type those names in too, because I'm going to tag them, and you can gain access to if you want. So take care, everybody. Thanks, and I'll be back at you with more Growth Hackers Cafe value in addition to internet safety related items.